All right, everybody. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon, The Blackest Heart, both books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today we're going to be reviewing The Two Towers by J.R.R. Tolkien. Not only are we going to be reviewing the book, but we're going to be looking at all the different versions of the Two Towers that I had, just like we did with the Fellowship of the Ring, and like we will do with the Return of the King, and like we will do with the Hobbit when we get to that, and like we will do with the Silmarillion and a few other Tolkien things that we've got to do. First of all, though, before we get started, we've got to pull out the Gandalf sword, Glamdring. We've got to show that off. I also have an Aragorn sword downstairs. It's pretty dope. I thought I'd just bring this one up, though. Use it as a little prop for the video. Anyway, so let's start with Lord of the Two Towers. If you want to watch my review of Fellowship of the Ring, just type in my last name, Fellowship of the Ring, into the YouTube search bar, and I swear to all that's holy and good that the video will appear upon your YouTube. I swear it will. It's the way the internet works that they tell me. So anyway, first ever fantasy book I read ever was The Sword of Shannara. Now, it wasn't long after that I started reading Tolkien. Because back in the, when I was a kid, back in the 80s, fantasy was just sort of starting to get its foothold in the bookstores. There wasn't a lot of it out there that you could buy and purchase, but The Lord of the Rings you certainly could purchase. And so this was the exact copy. This is the exact paperback that I bought when I was about 12 or 13 years old. The price is still on it. It is, the hell much did this thing cost? $3.95. I remember I brought this to the cash register. I found this on the circular paperback rack in the Safeway grocery store in Sevier County, Utah. If you want to know where Sevier County, Utah is, nobody knows where it is, but it is if there's the center to the universe, it is the farthest place that it is from. Sevier County, Utah it looks like Tatooine. It is it's a desert bleak landscape, and there was not much there, not much to read, not much to do. But the Safeway grocery store actually had the trilogy. So I bought Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, and Return of the King. I took them to the cash register, and I purchased them for $2.95 each, or whatever that says there. And I remember the cash register lady. The total came to about $9, and the cash register lady was like, "What kind of fool would spend $9 on books?" Typical attitude of Sevier County, Utah. Anyway, I bought my fucking books anyway. I didn't give a shit what that lady thought, and I ended up reading these, and this is the exact. I've read this copy of The Two Towers probably a dozen times in my lifetime, at least 8 or 9 of those times just when I was in high school. Let's get to some of the other versions that we've got. This one is has the nice Daryl K. Sweet cover art on it with the bright green. It's got a little scroll on the back. I love this copy just because it's the copy I bought when I was a kid, and I still have it, still in mint condition, even though it's been read 8 or 9 times. I keep my books in good condition, and I've got the whole set of original paperbacks that I bought. And so that is the one version I've got. I like to collect different versions, so I will show you some of them. I've got this small leather-bound version that I think is pretty cool. I've got several of these massive Lord of the Rings leather collectors where the entire Lord of the Rings book is, the whole trilogy is just in like a leather-bound gold foil. I've got a bunch of those. I really like this little paperback version. It just came out a few years ago. It's got a really kind of elegant and simple design to it. I really do like these. And they did one for each of the trilogy. Now this one is pretty cool because this is the British collector's version that has the cover by Alan Lee of it looks like the spiders or the spider, and then on the back it's got Alan Lee actually designed a lot of the sets for the movies. That's why it looks so familiar because he designed it and then they created the set for the movie. And then we've got another Alan Lee cover again with the great picture of the tower here. Love that. And then last but not least, I've got this great John Jude Palancar did a version of covers that I think are dope. And of course, we've got the Ent and the Hobbit on top of it. The Ent. So I got a bunch. So let us talk about the story itself. I remember when I finished The Fellowship of the Ring when I was a kid, I could not wait to dive into this book. And of course, we dive in right with Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli racing across the plains to find Merry and Pippin and the missing hobbits, and they're out searching for the missing hobbits. And there's a few differences between the movies and the books with that whole thing. But anyway, I loved just the scene of Aragorn as a tracker. You get to see him be a real ranger in the opening of this, where he's tracking the hobbits and he's tracking this army of orcs that has taken the hobbits, and they're going across and they're just sprinting and sprinting. And it's just filled with so much wonder and adventure. And you're so heartbroken at the ending because of the ending of the Fellowship of the Ring. And you just want, because at the ending of the Fellowship of the Ring, of course, and this is going to be spoilery, but if you don't know about these books or stories yet, I can't help you at this point. I'm spoilering the ending of the Fellowship of the Ring because we think that two characters are dead, Boromir and Gandalf. And that's where we're set up. And then 4 characters are just lost. All the hobbits are scattered and lost. And the only people we have to ground us into this book are the 3 remaining people of the Fellowship, and that is Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas. And we got to follow them as they search for the hobbits. And now, of course, we get into a lot more adventure. One of the things that I don't like about the structure of both The Two Towers and The Return of the King, as far as the book goes, is, the first half of the book, we follow Aragorn's story and Gandalf's story and Legolas and Gimli's story and Merry and Pippin's story. And then the second half of the book, we just do an abrupt shift to where we follow Frodo and Sam and Gollum. And so the first time I read it, I just read it straight through. But with subsequent readings, every time I read this, I kind of do what the movies do, which is jump back and forth between the perspectives. So I'll read a chapter or 2 of Aragorn and Gandalf, and then I'll skip over here and I'll read a chapter 2 of Frodo and Sam, and then vice versa until the book is done. Do the same thing with Return of the King. That's the only problem I have with these books at all, because they are absolute perfection in literature, is the structure of that, the first half of the book and then the second half of the book. But anyway, that's a minor quibble. And there's an easy workaround, which I just told you about. And so we'll just talk about the first half of the book, where we get Aragorn, Gimli, Legolas chasing the 2 hobbits. Merry and Pippin are captured by the orcs. They end up escaping. And, and then just every scene in this book gets just so more filled with enchantment and wonder as we go, because we meet the Ents, and then we meet the White Wizard, and then we meet, Eowyn and Eomir, and then the big battle at the end of Helm's Deep, and all of the stuff that happens, with Saruman, and just, there's so many cool things with this book, and that's just the first half. And then we jump to the Sam and Frodo story, where they're trying to get the ring all the rest of the way to Mount Doom, and we get to meet Gollum for the first time. Well, we get to meet him for the second time, because the first time we met him, it was in The Hobbit, and he's just sort of lurking around in the shadows in the Fellowship of the Ring. But then he makes a spectacular entrance in The Two Towers, and man, is he just one of the greatest characters in fantasy literature, if not all of literature. And just the interaction between Frodo, Sam, Gollum, and this crazy, weird, ethereal, grim adventure that they're going on through the swamps and the jagged mountains. And, they're just the swamps that are on fire, and people, dead bodies in the swamps. And then the ring wraiths. We haven't even got to the ring wraiths, and the ring wraiths swooping overhead and searching for them. Oh my God. As a kid, I just was filled with such a sense of horror, terror, wonder, adventure. I loved everything about The Two Towers when I first read it, and I have read it, like I said, about 12 times since then, and goddamn, the thing just never gets old. And the beauty of J.R.R. Tolkien's writing, speaking from a writer's standpoint, I mean, I really study what he's doing and the word choices he uses in my own books, and I try to use those kind of things and those stylistic choices he makes in my own writing, just to nail down that old English medieval flavor of the language, because I think it accentuates the story. And a lot of people think, oh, it's so archaic. I can't get into the Lord of the Rings books because the writing is so, heavy-handed, and the prose is so verges on purple a lot, and the word and the and just the sentences are have this clunky cadence. But they really don't. They don't really have any of that people complain about. They're actually very beautiful sentences, and they're actually very meticulously constructed and put together, and just fucking great. And anybody who criticizes them is a damn idiot. And that's the easiest way I can say that. So that is my pretty in-depth look at my Tolkien Two Towers sort of ensemble of things, with a short review of the book. We didn't talk a whole lot in detail about the book, but it's probably because if you're watching this video, you've read this. You've seen the movies. This is a 10 out of 10 book.